And welcome everyone to the show, especially after last night's Gremlins got a hold of us. It was funny towards the end of the show when I had to cut off. The freaking mixer board was smoking a little bit, but that wasn't the only thing. I'm out here in Bufu, Egypt, and we use this satellite dish internet crap, and every time the wind blows, something goes wrong with it, or snow, whatever like that. But hopefully everything's going to go good with today's show. Tomorrow I will be covering the Michigan A-Bait conference. Got a bunch of great interviews that are going to be coming up on that one, so looking forward to that. But we're going to be bringing Tombstone back on today in a couple minutes to continue our discussion that we were having yesterday before we had to cut out. But the topic today is the biker lifestyle and what is plaguing it. Now, I don't know if any of you guys seen the article that was on Insane Throttle Biker News today. It was titled "The Tampa Bay Times Hit Piece on the Outlaws Motorcycle Club" and 2% King update. But it's been getting a hell of a response out there as far as feedback is concerned, and it is just blowing up, let me tell you. But it talks about how the mainstream media portrays motorcycle clubs and how they're trying to get the citizens again. You know, they're trying to make their money, if you will, on the backs of motorcycle clubs. That's happening in Hollywood. Again, the mainstream media, movies, whatever have you. Yes, some of it's our fault, but a lot of it's the propaganda that's put out there as well. So we're going to be talking about that today. We're going to get pretty heavy into it. Got a lot of stuff. Hopefully you got a lot of call-ins coming in today. And we're going to address the issues that plague the biker lifestyle. So we're going to wait until Tombstone gets on, and we're going to be getting into a hell of a freaking conversation today. Got some quotes, so if you want to call in, Tombstone, go ahead. How you doing there, Southern Belle? Dominic, Tommy, Ironhead, how you doing, buddy? JR Stephen, how you doing, buddy? Who else we got in here? Greg, how you doing? Snake, rock and roll. Greg, how you doing? DJ Vegas, how you doing, my buddy? Cool and the dude and all that other kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting today. While you're in the chat room, let me know what you guys think. What do you think is plaguing the biker community? A lot is now. Oh, we got. Here we go. Tombstone, what's up, buddy?
What's up, buddy?
Not much, man. Not much. It seems like it's going well today. The Gremlins are not around so far.
It sounds that well. Trying to turn you down here because my computer. There we go. Finally got it. There you go.
Yeah, you got to turn us off in the background, man. If not, it just gives a whole bunch of feedback. How you doing, Thomas, in the chat room? Gord, how you doing from Calgary? Rock and roll. Love the T behind you. Yeah, that's from actually Dirty Sam Productions, and that is Tombstone's design, the hashtag Save the Patch. He is also Motorcycle Madhouse's official printer. He's doing up our T-shirts, which will be available soon. But today we're going to be talking, we're going to kind of continue on our conversation we were having yesterday before the Gremlins got us, Tombstone, and that is, what do you think is plaguing the biker lifestyle? And after you answer that, I'm actually going to read a quote to you, and I wanted to get your thoughts, but go ahead.
Jeez, I don't know if you want to ask what my thoughts are, but so what's plaguing the motorcycle lifestyle?
Well, you know what it is I think we need to get a debate going. Let's put it out there, plain and simple, and let's get a discussion going.
So what's plaguing the motorcycle world or culture? Part of it is TV and news, most definitely. I would say that most definitely the biggest problem that we have is social media and the fact that, you know, this is where people get their news. You know, there's actually people that go on Facebook and whatever's posted on there they think is news for the day, and it's ridiculous. But in addition to that, we as motorcycle culture people have allowed it to develop to a certain extent to where it is today. So that's kind of where my thoughts are at this point.
Mm-hmm. Now, were you able to read the Tampa Bay Times article, which was, in my opinion, a huge hit piece against the Outlaws Motorcycle Club?
No, actually, I wasn't able to read anything today. I had to fix my four-wheeler, and, I've done all the printing today, too. So,
all right. Well, the gist of the article is the Tampa Bay Times, and they're actually running a few articles right now, not only on the Outlaws, but some other one-percenter clubs in the area. And the misinformation in these articles is actually quite frightening. You can actually tell it's like a Leo could have wrote this damn article.
Pretty good chance it was.
Well, yeah. But they're bringing up, they're trying to frame a debate on motorcycle clubs as what happened 20 years ago. But what was more worrying was that in the middle of this article, the middle of it, they started talking about Waco and saying how there were 6 in their words, motorcycle gangs there. But in the middle of this article, and everybody knows the Outlaws were not involved in Waco, but the way they wrote the article, any civilian that didn't know any better would think they were. And that's some dangerous reporting right there.
It's dangerous reporting, and I hate to say this, but for the Outlaws, they kind of have a very difficult name not to be mentioned on a regular basis without people, really saying, "Oh, well, the Outlaws were there." They didn't do themselves any favors when they named the club, but that they know what that burden is, and they deal with it every day. So. The problem is news, and they're gonna spin whatever they can spin to make us look a certain way. I see stuff all the time around Christmas time, right? It says, a certain club went out and bought all the bicycles at Walmart and donated them to the kids, and we do a ride up here every year with her Toys for Tots, the Harley dealers up here, which is actually a decent dealership. But the thing is that's the only time that they really talk about it. And is it because that's really the only time we do anything, or is it because that's really all they're trying to do is just, give a fuzz piece out there that says, hey, yep, even the dirty bikers are doing the right thing.
Well, you know what? Kay Davis in the chat room, he brought something very interesting up. Plaguing the biker community, all the negative publicity. There are a lot more good deeds done by motorcyclists than bad. Poker runs for benefits, fundraisers, backup, etc. And you know what? I have to agree with them. Being a part of Insane Throttle Biker News, it's a biker news site. And most of what you see coming out of the site, I'll be real honest, is a lot of bad stuff. 98% of it is bad because that's what's being reported. But there is a lot of good in the biker community, like he says, the poker runs, BACA, and the stuff that bikers do for kids and women who are abused and stuff like that. But I do tend to agree with them on that stuff. And most of the time, it's funny, a lot of clubs, because I have to deal with a lot of clubs in this business, they ask, well, why do you have, I actually got this the other day from one of the big ones, why do you have to report on all the bad stuff that's in the paper? I was like, well, stay the hell out of the paper and I won't have to report it.
Yeah. The problem is that news nowadays, and it wasn't so bad in the 70s, but as soon as the 80s, there was nothing but death, dismemberment, and how do we just make the rest of the world feel like shit every day? It got to the point where even as a kid growing, and now you're the same age I am, so I remember in school all we ever heard about was the nuclear weapons are coming and all this other shit, and we used to do those drills where you jump underneath the desk like the desk is going to save us.
Right. I remember those.
Yeah, those are the things that's what news started to become. It became fear mongering, and that's really what they're doing still today. Because here's the thing: the news is based off of an agenda. Right? They're in business to make money, or they're just not going to be. It's all about a ratings game. So if they're not able to produce something that has that wow factor, that one thing that gets everybody to dial into their channel, they're not going to be in business too much longer. So it seems like nobody anymore really wants to hear about the good stuff. All they want to hear is about the bad stuff. And it's kind of a shame that that's the society that we live in today. We really have to work harder and I'm not saying be better people, because in all honesty, I don't really give a shit, Be who you want to be. But at the same time, you have to be realistic, because you can't have an expectation of being treated a certain way if you're going to behave the opposite way.
Right. Right. Well, yeah, you know what? You make a damn good point right there. And when you brought up one of the things plaguing social or the biker lifestyle, that is social media. I do remember the days when a lot of this stuff was you never heard of this stuff what clubs did and shit, and now it's like plastered, and not only from news sites and stuff, by individual members.
Absolutely. I mean, and here, first of all, there was a golden rule. It's still out there. I hear it all the time, but nobody pays attention to it. Is you don't talk about club business.
Exactly. I am so glad you brought that up, because that will lead us into a next discussion, but go ahead.
It's ridiculous. Everywhere I go, there's guys that, they're talking. Listen, just in case anybody's wondering, even though you're out in the bar and you think that nobody can hear you, there's somebody listening. Don't talk about your club's business out in the public. Do that at the clubhouse.
Well, that's the way it used to be known, but it's kind of like when social media came about, everybody got a dumb stick up their head.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. And, all right, so a guy leaves the club, right? And instead of just going out and saying, all right, listen, it didn't work out, it wasn't the right thing to do, now social media has provided a platform for that particular person to bash the living shit out of that club, which raises, some eyebrows, because, if my club got blessed by a specific club, the dominant, then the dominant's going to start looking and say, why is this guy, this guy's out here saying all this shit. These are the people we blessed. Are they that fucked up, really?
Right, exactly. Well, and then it gets to a point where, as a club, you got to take care of that business, because your patch and your reputation's online. So it gets pretty hairy out there when you got that kind of situation.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, when we bring somebody in as a prospect in the club, we don't really even talk about. We give them the initial protocols of, like, because if they go out in public with us, don't embarrass us, don't make a scene, don't be an asshole. Just keep your mouth shut and do what you're told to do. It's not because we're trying to be assholes or be bosses or anything else. We're trying to protect the club and you at the same time, okay? Because, the clubs are all about respect. That's it. You don't give respect, you're going to get your head handed to you. It's that easy.
Well, it's the rules of the street, man. The strong survive. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, and aside from the initial protocol that they will learn throughout the rest of the time that they're prospecting, we also educate them on history. And there's a reason why we're here. Who started it, the who, what, when, where, why of motorcycle culture. Because if you don't know it, you're not going to be able to have a future with it for very long.
Right, exactly. Now, you brought up one of the best freaking points, and it's one of the most forgotten ones. You can call it old school, whatever, about not talking about club business. Now, it seems like over the years there has been a rash of these people that were put out bad. They go out there either on social media, or they go out there on the History Channel, or they write books, and they talk so much about the club business that happened while they were there, it makes you sick. It really does. Here, most clubs make you take an oath. Hey, what happens in the club stays in the club. But then these idiots go out there and start running off at the mouth. All the majors have had them. All the major dominants have had these guys do it. And that right there, I think, is one of the plagues on the biker community. You actually got... Now, I'm not trying to be a jerk or anything here, but you got rubs or people that's never been in the biker scene that actually watch these people or listen to these people, and they think that's what's right, and that's what motorcycle clubs are about, or what the biker lifestyle is about, and that couldn't be further from the freaking truth.
Absolutely not. I mean, that fellow that claims that he's from Chicago, he rubs me, funny rub, he rubs me the wrong way because, it's everything that he says is derogatory about motorcycle clubs and everything else, but in the next breath, he's talking about starting his own club and all this other shit. And it's just like, listen.
Oh, you're talking about the one that failed two clubs, and, he's from Carbondale and not Chicago. By the way, Carbondale is not Chicago, people. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really want to bring him up, but the bottom line is that you have to know what you're talking about. And this clown goes on and talks all kinds of smack about motorcycle clubs and dominance and that you should do what you want to do. It's a free country. It's this, that, it's the other thing, and so on and so forth. Now, listen, I don't disagree with some of the statements. I do, however, disagree with everybody just running out there, jumping and putting patches on. There's a reason why the dominants regulate it. And it's not because they're trying to be assholes. And it's not because they're trying to, control everything and so on and so forth. The reality is this. The dominants have been around since the late 40s and actually even before that, back when they were racing on the tracks. But, they've been around. They know the history. They've lived the history. They are part of the history. And they also know what patches have already been used, what colors have already been used. So for you to just take a design, slap it on a patch, and put it on your back, you don't know, because there's been a lot of defunct motorcycle clubs throughout the last 40 years, just in the past 40 years. So now, for all you know, you're putting a patch on that's very similar to somebody else's that doesn't exist anymore, that may have had a beef with one of them people in your area.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Now, with dumb nuts aside, what do you think? This is one of the things that really burned my ass is, guys that go out there who use their club to make money. When they were thrown out bad and shit like that, you got examples like Christie, who 81 hates, and he was put out bad. You got Fat Boy, idiot over there that nobody in Chicago can stand. Same freaking thing. Going out there writing a book, talking all this club business in the books. I can't get over that.
I mean, what happened is... people, we'll go back to George Christie. I've read his book. I read, Sonny's books. They both kind of go into the same areas. It's almost like an argument between the two of them via book. The reality is what happened is, George was considered an outlaw. He ends up getting his ass chapped or burned or whatever it is. I don't take sides, but what ended up happening is he knew that he was a viable asset to illustrators, not illustrators, but people that, authorize books and so on and so forth, and interviews and all this other stuff, because he was considered an outlaw. He was the pinnacle person at that point in time that somebody could look at coming from one of the biggest clubs in the entire world and say, hey, you're willing to talk? Cool, here's some money. Let's shoot the shit. Let's do some shows. Let's open up what your version of the motorcycle culture is all about. And it sells like hotcakes because, again, for all these years, we've kind of kept our mouths shut. We don't talk club business. Anybody who's legit does not talk club business anywhere other than the clubhouse. I mean, it's just That's the real deal.
Well, you know what? You know what? Before you go on there, I just got an interesting thing in the freaking the chat room. I don't know if it's a troll or what the hell, but maybe it's a legitimate question, whatever. But they say, why would clubs worry about heat and rats if they were legit organizations? You want to give a go ahead at that one?
Yeah, I'd love to. All right, so here's the thing. As a matter of fact,
and we'll go back to Sonny and them.
Yeah, fine. Here's the problem, that because of social media, because of, Sons of Anarchy and the Mayans and everything else, it doesn't matter anymore if you're legit or you're considered legit or not legit, illegal, whatever it is. The people that had the bad apples that have spoiled the bunch have created such a difficult process for everybody else that now the police departments and the FBI, anybody that wears colors is automatically tagged as being an outlaw. Like specifically if you're wearing a three-piece patch.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And the hammer on that a little more, okay? Let's hammer it on a little more. You bring up cops. And... Yep. You know, I don't know if these people understand it. Now, I got to be honest and stuff like that. I have a past with black and white and stuff like that. I was never once, and I'm going to put it out there right now, never once was I ever told to do anything illegal, or did I see anything illegal going on. Never. Because if you did some shit like that, you were thrown out on the street, man. It was put point blank when you got your patch. You do something stupid, you're out, because they do not want the heat coming down on you. Now, when we're talking about rats and stuff like that, we're talking about club business, because here you came in taking an oath that you would not talk about club business, but you're going out there running at your mouth. You're a rat. You couldn't hang on to your word.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the problem. Especially if you're a guy that's married in a club, you know, your wife always wants to know what's going on and how's things doing and this, that, and the other thing. Or, what ride are we going on at this point in time? But the reason why they went with don't talk about club business wasn't because they have something to hide or anything else. It was really just about the fact that it takes a special kind of person to be in this true lifestyle, in this culture, okay? You can't just walk off the street, throw a vest on, and be like, hey, I'm a biker. No, you're not. Because you haven't even put your first 300 miles on yet. That's number one. And your ass hasn't even been sore yet in any kind of a iron butt challenge. And you don't even know protocols because now you're running around telling people you're a biker. So the problem is that this market right now, not market, but this
Hey, Tombstone, you know what, Tombstone, before I forget my thought here while you were talking, you brought that up. Now, to get back to the question, he just said he just wanted to answer that he wasn't a troll. Okay, great. It's a legitimate question if you're not trying to troll. But during the Mongols patch case, during this case, there was that DEA agent that infiltrated the Mongols, and I want everybody to listen to this. It's backed up with testimony, it's backed up in the newspaper, and quoted in the newspaper. When the Mongols attorney asked that DEA agent if he ever seen crimes being committed with a Mongols patch, he said no. Go ahead.
No, I mean, you're 100% right, and the reality is that, well, to a certain extent, clubs police themselves. You know, unfortunately, it has gotten less on policing our own individual clubs, and it's been going out to call everybody out on everything else that they're doing wrong. Personally, I think we need to rewind that a little bit and do some housekeeping inside of our own clubs first. And I'm not calling anybody out, and nobody has to agree with me. I really don't care, and I'm not trying to be offensive to anyone.
You're totally right, Tombstone. I'm not going to sit here and say there's a bunch of Girl Scouts in clubs, because there's not. There's some hardcore street fucking joint guys in these clubs, man. I'm not going to bullshit you. Go ahead.
Right. Well, what happened is and this happened across the board. After the 70s, specifically in the 80s. Shit got pretty wild, and a lot of clubs started opening the doors and taking people in because they wanted more bodies. They wanted soldiers, I guess was the term that I kept hearing a lot in some of the old news articles. That was bad for business, for everybody involved. The problem is that now some of those cats are still in, and they still have that old school gang mentality. And listen, there's nothing wrong being a gang if that's what you want to be in and that's what you want to do. But the motorcycle culture and clubbing was not started for that purpose.
Right. Exactly.
So
I totally agree with that point.
We have to get back to basics. It's about brotherhood. It's about being around other people that share the same mentality you do. The old adage that nobody can actually prove was said or not said was the AMA statement that was made about the 99% are all, decent bikers. And then the 1%ers split off and, hey, screw you, we're going to do our own thing, cut up their patches, and all of a sudden now they had 3-piece patches instead of a one. But the problem is that's when things started to go a little bit south. Because
nobody's going to doubt it, because in the mid-'90s, Chicago was a fucking firestorm, man. It was no joke here in Chicago.
Absolutely.
But it was a different time back then, because like you said, you mentioned the 80s, we're talking right off the heels of Vietnam here. And them guys that came back from Vietnam were shit on. They were a lot of bad stuff happened to them boys over at Vietnam. And when they got into the club, society already said screw you, so they did their thing. And I can't sit here with an honest freaking face and say that the clubs, they've done some stuff, let me tell you. But it also has to be said that clubs have evolved now, even the bigger dominant clubs, to know that, hey, technology's everywhere. We can't get away with what we used to do. So we got to keep that, you got to keep that stuff on the down low. And like I said, when I was in, not one time was I told to do anything, or did I see anything illegal. It was all about partying and riding. And when you're talking about club business, you were talking about, the inner club workings and stuff like that. I never brought my freaking wife with me. You know why? Because I had 2 or 3 broads on the side going at it. I don't want to talking club business.
Yeah, but that's the way. Back in that day, it was a little bit easier to kind of get away with shit like that, because women were not as involved in the motorcycle club set as they are now.
Oh, hell no, man. Mine never went. I don't even care if it was a family night at the clubhouse. She was never around me.
Yeah, it's a little different now for us specifically. I've got some guys in the club that are single, but a lot of them are married, and we do the family thing. Anytime that there's a ride or an event or something else, we say, okay, let's go, let's take a ride, let's do what we're going to do. There are times when it's only men, and that one of those times is at church every single month.
Right.
There's no women, there's no kids, there's nobody allowed, because that's when we do business. And people want to know what business means. Well, it's not hard to figure it out, but I'll give you the quick down and dirty. Business is talking about, how much money is in the treasury, how much, what was last meeting talked about, what is this meeting's agenda. Everybody has their assignments that they need to complete in a timely manner, and everybody puts reports in. So for us specifically, spring is only, 5.5 weeks away?
Oh my God! If you're in Northern Illinois, man, it seems like forever. But go ahead.
Listen, every day seems like a century here, man. But, in the Northeast, the spring is supposed to hit in about 5.5 weeks. It doesn't mean that it's going to be nice and warm to ride and everything, but we have to start planning now, because we have events and bike nights and so on and so forth that we need to attend, that we need to support, and so on and so forth. So those are the things that go on in these meetings, and so it's not this little secret little conversation about, hey, we're gonna go ride down to Mexico, we're gonna get 2 kilos of cocaine, and then we're gonna stop in Arizona and pick up a bunch of guns, and then fly back to New York. That's
Well, you know what's funny about that? You know, I hear all these people going out, yeah, they're criminal organization and Volcholak or whatever is. I'll get to your question in a second. That these guys are all criminal organizations and stuff like that. But during my time, I seen guys that couldn't even make $100 a freaking month in duels. Okay, so if there's so much of a gangster and criminal organization, they couldn't come up with $100. You tell me what's wrong.
Exactly. I mean, listen, I've got guys that have a hard time, you know, paying dues as it is, you know, and they work, but you know, they work, they have families, you know, so on and so forth, and especially in today's day and age, you're not able to head a household and only one person in that household is working. It just doesn't work anymore, you know.
Right.
So, you know, everybody's doing their part, but you know, the way that the taxes are and you know, how much money is getting taken out every month in bills and everything else. Some of these guys don't have enough money to do what they got to do. So, you know,
but they're out there being pinned as gangsters and a criminal organization. You know, it just takes common sense to know, hey, you got guys out there that can't freaking even make dues, but you're out here, you know, trying to claim that they're criminals. That's just hypocrisy at its freaking finest.
Yeah, exactly. It's ludicrous. To be honest with you, if every motorcycle club was what everyone thought it was, I would be a millionaire.
Exactly. Now, let me get back here. This one guy had a question. Let me get through the chat room because I really want to answer this one for him. Where did it go, bud? Or did you take it off on me? Hold on a second. I'm trying to find it here. Okay. What was the deal with the Quebec Biker War? Just some bad apples. Now, for those that don't know what the Quebec Biker War is, that was something that happened in the mid-90s, and it was a brutal one, let me tell you. It was freaking Hall's balls, freaking out biker war, that war was. It was between the Rock Machine and the Hells Angels. And that occurred in Canada. Canada. Okay, there is different cultures. You know, the biker culture is not just with the United States here, man. We got Oz that has their own culture. We got England, which you can talk to Dibber about, Dibber in the Wind. From England and Europe, they got their culture. The United States has ours. Yeah, there's some stuff that pops out worldwide, man. But to try to claim that the Quebec Biker War is something that relates to the way we do things down here, it's totally ridiculous. You know, we're not using grenade launchers at each other down here. You know, it's more. Yeah. Let's be honest. Clubs, it's like being in tribes, man. You're guarding your own thing. You got your own values. You're doing your own thing. You know, you have to be honest. Go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right, and I don't think I could have put it better myself. We are just like tribes. You know, we have our own rules and regulations inside of each club. You know, we have our own way of doing things. I mean, not every club across the board has the same officers, you know. So there's little idiosyncrasies inside of every single club, but you know the issue is that the way that America has sensationalized the outlaw, and I don't mean the club, I mean the concept of the outlaw, which we talked about yesterday, and a lot of the people that are considered outlaws really just kind of like buck the system a little bit, and you know, they try to get their stuff back for the most part.
Well,
you know,
right. You know, the couple, and we got to be honest, most of the reputations of the clubs were made off of specific incidences, man. It's not like, you know, they were always at war and stuff like that. They're always killing each other. No, the reputations were made off of specific incidences with specific people.
Well, you know, you bring a good point up on that as well. So here's the thing, just so everyone really gets a good grasp of what we're trying to say here is if I go out and, I don't know, shoot somebody, right? Not that I'm going to do it, just saying if I did, okay?
Yeah, you better make that clear, Tombstone, because, you know, I got those Leo hacks that tune in all the time. Go ahead.
Yeah, we got trollers. It's all right. No big deal. So, anyway, if I go out and shoot somebody, it's not going to be, hey, this guy went out and shot somebody, and that's the headline in the news. No. It'll be my first name, my nickname, my last name from this particular club did this, you know, and it'll be in big, bold letters because they can't let it go.
Yeah, they got to sell newspapers.
Exactly. So, you know, me is just me going out and shooting somebody. Yeah, okay, it happens all the time out here, you know, no big deal. People get shot. But as soon as you put a club name to it, forget it.
And then that club, for years and decades to come, will be known for being violent.
Absolutely. You know, and just like you said a little while ago, you know, we're not criminals. We're not gangsters. And it really drives me fucking bonkers when I see these news articles and shit on TV where they call everybody a motorcycle gang.
Right.
Fuck you. Okay, I didn't join a gang. I joined a club. You know? If I wanted to join a gang, I have the opportunity to do that. And yes, we will go out and rob people, and we will beat them up, and we will steal shit from them. But even gangs really didn't anticipate that they were going to go that route either.
Exactly. You make so much sense. And I'm glad that you brought up about the gangster stuff, because I really want to address this with, you know, I think it's time to address that about, you know, gangsters and guys in clubs trying to aspire to be them. You know, I don't think people understand truly what a gangster really is. And clubs are not gangsters, okay? Clubs are not out there making freaking millions upon millions of dollars a week, driving around with freaking $100,000 freaking whatever the hell it is, cars or any of that stuff. It's not motorcycle clubs. I'm sorry to say, but it's not gangster.
No, I mean, we just, honestly, we don't have time for it, you know? Like I said, like you said, actually, you know, these guys are working their asses off. They don't have time to be selling drugs and all this other shit while they're trying to, you know, be in a club. I mean, the other part is that being in a club, it's not a part-time job, especially if you're an officer in that club. Because I'm here to tell you, sometimes my phone rings at 3 o'clock in the morning with, hey, I have a problem, you know? But the thing is, and this is what folks don't understand as well, is the brotherhood piece. Brotherhood isn't about my phone rang at 3 o'clock in the morning, I have a problem, and you say, oh, did you call this guy first? No. Those words should never come out your mouth, okay? It's always, where are you? I'm on my way. That's it.
Right. Well, you know what?
Always take care of each other.
I am so glad we're on the gangster part of the thing, because we're going to get back to that one issue we were talking about earlier about how these idiots make money off of their club after being thrown out bad. I
can't wait to get back to that.
Here is the question I got for you. You know, you're in a club right now, and you understand totally if a club puts somebody out bad, it's on a unanimous vote. And it used to be where clubs honored that vote. And now with social media, these idiots are able to go out there and propagate something they're not, for one. And two, to badmouth their clubs. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know,
and one of the reasons why, because the old days is, it didn't matter if you were on the other side of the fence, meaning you didn't get along with the other club. All clubs accepted the out bad designation.
Absolutely, 100%. As a matter of fact, I ran into that situation locally here where somebody, you know, my club isn't that old. And when we first came out, we had a little bit of an issue with somebody else, and it was all bullshit. Somebody was trying to start trouble. But somebody that helped me out, you know, I got a call from the president of another club, and he's like, listen, man, give you a heads up, that dude's out bad with us. And I was like, all right, well, I didn't know. You know, so he's like, it's cool, as long as, you know, you get it. You know, it's probably not a good idea to take photos with him and all this other stuff, and I might want to step back away from his club. But you know what, out of respect, not because of fear, because that's the big thing that a lot of people don't understand. It's not about fear. If Dominic comes to me or another club comes to me with a problem, I don't go fuck off. I'm going to listen to them. and then I'm going to, digest the information. If I'm somewhere and it looks like it's a bad situation and people are going to get hurt and they ask me to take my colors off, okay, I'm going to take it off at that point in time. Not out of fear, but out of respect. There's a big difference. And a lot of these dominants, well, not a lot of the dominants, one specific dominant club didn't really give a shit if you respected them because you liked them and respected them, or if you respected them out of fear. Fear is not the right answer, You're not going to get respect out of fear. What you're going to get is people that are going to be yes men and then turn around and stick it in your ass when you're not paying attention.
Mm-hmm. But what do you think of it? Because a lot of people on social media, they're not around the lifestyle at all and stuff like that. What do you think about people that actually listen to these out bad, I call them a bunch of out bad freaks, because you know what? If a club puts them out, it's a unanimous vote. The discussion's over with, because quite frankly, we can't have a freaking voice in it because we're not members, for one. And two, we don't got all the information. Hey, you have to look at it. Hey, the club puts you out on bad. Get the hell out of my face.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it goes right back to the respect thing. Like, if you're out bad, there used to be a time when there was respect. Like, so you're out bad. You went away and you shut up.
Right.
Now because of social media, because certain people in the past have come out and aired all the dirty laundry of any club out there, because of those instances with the social media attached to it, it has become a regular everyday occurrence, and there's no respect anymore for the culture that we work so hard to keep together.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And what do you say to people that, especially club members that follow somebody that's out bad and knows why they're out bad?
If you know why somebody's out bad, and it's the truth, because let's be honest, there's a lot of bullshit that happens in the world too. But if it's a legit issue and somebody is out bad, stay away. That's all I'm going to tell you. It's beneficial for you to do so, not because you're going to get beat up, not because this is what people don't remember, right? Clubs aren't just by themselves. We rely on the support from other clubs. So if you're going to go hang out with somebody, even though a dominant or another club that's been around longer than you puts somebody out bad and says, hey, you shouldn't be hanging out with that dude, and you tell them to go fuck themselves, well, guess what? You will never, ever get any support from that club, ever.
Right. Now, I'm going to read you a quote, and I want everybody in the chat room, I want to hear your thoughts on this quote. But I'm going to read it to you, Tombstone, and I want to hear your opinion on this. Quote, I hung up the phone and sat in the dark for what seemed like several minutes. A plan formed in my head. What if Brad and his old lady joined an all-exclusive club, one that accepted everyone, broad, shines, chinks, gays, couples, single riders? Talking to blank, you want to create a fake motorcycle club. Why? Money. I was already planning to keep this secret from the blank, but I trusted Mr. Happy, and I needed his help if I was going to pull this off. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, people like that, first of all, are filthy scumbag douchebags. There's not enough filthy words. There's not a word in the dictionary that covers it. Let's just be honest. Okay? Here's the problem. We as a motorcycle culture already talk about how the culture is fucking watered down because of all these pop-up clubs and all this other shit and the rubs and so on and so forth, right? Well, now you've got an asshole who decides that not only are they going to, fuck the whole system and screw over the other club, but he's going to rob people of their money, but now he's not only going to water it down, he's going to make it fucking transparent to the point where nobody is ever going to trust the motorcycle club or motorcycle culture ever again.
Exactly. And I want people to know, because this is, I call it the last Chicago hoax. He went around trying to be gangster and stuff like that. And the article that we did today on Insane Throttle Biker News with the Tampa Bay Times, it kind of tied into this moron. But we actually have club members, and you know what? I get freaking these clubs all the time asking me, and I want to put this on air too, but I put it in the article. We're not here to be your policemen. We're not going to tell you who's in the group or any of that shit. That's up to you guys. But if you got club members that actually follow somebody like this, who actually put it in a book, what do you say about club members like that?
Well, it's not just the club members, it's the club itself, because those ideas, they're not just listened to. They're people take them and they try to pass them around and institute them and so on and so forth. And they're just bad business for the culture overall, which brings me back to the whole thing of we need to start policing ourselves. You know, if you've got guys in your club that are, you know, taking the advice of ass clowns, you need to put the brakes on that and find a way to fix it. Either, you know, maybe the guy's too far gone and has, you know, drank the goddamn Jim Jones Kool-Aid. I don't know. But if that's the case, you need to get rid of them people. If there's somebody that you can save because they're a good club member and they're a good brother, then do whatever you got to do to save them. But listen, members of any club or any culture, you got to go and get the news from the real deal, from the horse's mouth, okay? If somebody's out bad, that horse no longer is supposed to have a mouth. Mm-hmm. So don't listen to it, because it's full of shit.
Now, you know, that's what I was talking about, where people don't understand about out bad and stuff like that. And, you know, it is disappointing, because the club world I came from would have never tolerated something like that. But openly seeing it in print from the horse's mouth, they still, you know, it might be on the other side of the aisle, if you know what I mean. But it used to be where nobody would come near them. But to see that in print from the horse's mouth and seeing what kind of person they are, that's pretty scary, that you got these new bikers out there following somebody like that.
Oh, absolutely. But, you know, that's the problem. This asshole is actually getting, you know, not the young bucks, but the uneducated about the culture. They're snatching them up left and right to feed them lines of bullshit so that they can go out and do whatever it is that they feel that their agenda is. And it doesn't bode well for those newcomers to this culture. You know, like you said, you know, you couldn't just run your mouth back in the day. You know, you couldn't just go on social media and so forth. But the other thing that didn't happen is you didn't have pop-up clubs either.
Oh, hell no, you didn't.
You know, so this culture has changed dramatically over, I would say, probably the last 15 years, maybe 20. But it's gotten to the point where, you know, certain protocols have kind of been pushed to the side, and there's been a certain level of acceptance to some things that are going on. The whole reason why, you know, I tried to get on air with you yesterday was to talk about the problems that we're having, which is what we're doing now, but also to talk about a little side project that I started called #BikersUnited. And
well, go ahead and talk about it. We got a few minutes left, man. Go ahead.
All right, cool. So what #BikersUnited is, it's an awareness, right? It's about getting it back to where it used to be, right? And I mean, like, back in the day, not in the 70s, not in the 60s, you know, even though the 60s were cool as fuck, but, you know, getting it back to where it needs to be. Motorcycle clubs and the motorcycle culture wasn't started because it was about territories or drugs or shootings or any of that other happy horse shit. What ended up happening is, you know, like we said before, somebody got it in their head that maybe California might be their territory. Okay, cool. You know, you perverted the concept of what this culture was.
Right.
So now you can't put a bottom rocker on that says California if California is the place you're calling your territory. I think my personal opinion is this: if we don't be careful, and if we don't start working together and put some of this bullshit, and I am not a happy, let's kumbaya together kind of guy. That's not me, right? If we don't work together to fix some of the issues that we have out there, we're not going to exist anymore, right? Now, I don't mean that as, well, all clubs are going to go away. No, because that's like doomsday naysayer shit. But the reality is that if things start going bad with the Mongols case and they get their patches removed, don't think for 1 minute that the next, one of the other 5 isn't up. And then, another one, and then another one until there is no more. And then what happens? Because, they don't like groups of people getting together that can really speak their piece and stand up, and they're not afraid to stand toe-to-toe. So because of that fact, what ends up happening is they try to take it away. Motorcycle culture was never accepted by the American public, right? Because a lot of these dudes were, not Vietnam, but they were all veterans, that started the whole concept. Well, guess what? We didn't have a problem camping out in the field with just a blanket, a horse blanket, And yeah, it probably smelled after a few days. No big deal. But when you go into town, everybody wants to call you a dirty biker, and you smell, and you don't do this, and you don't do the other thing. Well, listen, man, this is my weekend, or this was my week off. I'm traveling the world. I'm not worried about where I'm going to wash myself. I'm worried about getting down the road, And that's what the culture was about. But we weren't accepted by society because we smelled, because we rode loud motorcycles, which, first of all, you're crazy to be on 2 wheels, right? Right. So eventually, the police started getting involved, and they started, harassing the motorcycle clubs over the years, the small ones, the ones that were out originally. But it kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. American society is what created the outlaw.
Oh, they love their outlaws, man, going all the way back to Jesse James, Billy the Kid, Al Capone, Lucky Luciano. Absolutely. They love their outlaws.
And you're right. They do. We do love our outlaws, but the problem is that you're now defining an entire culture of people as outlaws because they don't live by normal, everyday, accepted behaviors.
Well, you know what? You're exactly right on that, because one of the things during the Mongols trial was they did. You could tell the DA, he probably hasn't got laid in a while, but anyway, he can't stand the way the way clubs did things as far as property of. They try to misconstrue it as something that it's not, and they cannot stand the way clubs life or the club members live.
No, but the problem is that they haven't even looked at what clubs are even today. They're still thinking about clubs back in the 60s and 70s where, all we want to do is drink, fuck, and ride. Well, I mean, most of us don't want to do that.
Me, it's smoke, ride, and fuck. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. But, that's not reality. The reality is that, yes, the motorcycle culture has changed dramatically because it went, first of all, motorcycles became very expensive. Okay? You have to work to own one. I mean, that's just the way it works.
Well, you got to have a second mortgage most of the time on a Harley.
Well, that's why I don't buy Harleys, right? So
right.
What ends up happening is, everybody is just trying to exist, and the clubs or the culture overall has changed dramatically because, people have to work. I mean, except for the guys on welfare and shit, but, I have to work to support them, so might as well. So I work, I do what I have to do, I afford my motorcycle, I afford my dues for the club that I'm in, and I do everything that I can. I do, me personally, all right, do everything that I can for my brothers, If somebody needs some money, if I have it, I'll give it to you. You need a ride, I don't care. You're drunk and you're 2 hours away, fine, I'll come get you. I don't care. That kind of stuff doesn't bother me. But ultimately, a lot of clubs don't have that mentality anymore. a lot of clubs don't even teach history as far as, you know, club life is or the culture is all about. They just don't do it. I was in another club before I came here. I'm not going to name names or anything like that, but it was literally, I walked in the door, hi, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you want a prospect? Cool. You know, I did my time as a prospect, and the next thing you know, here you go, here's your patch. You're voted in. I was like, okay. I still don't know anything. You know, because they didn't push. I mean, I knew the protocols of the club. I knew the bylaws of the club. You know, I knew everything I needed to know about the club. The problem is I didn't know shit about other clubs.
Right.
I didn't know anything about the history. So, you know, because of that, I just said, forget it. I'm jumping in. I'm going to learn whatever I can. You know, and I've learned some stuff from you, even as of recently. I've learned some stuff from Black Dragon. You know, I watch Dibber. You know, I pay attention to what's going on in this world. If you're just somebody that wants to cruise through life doing the bare minimum, being a biker is not for you. I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm just being honest about it. It's not for you. You can't just put a cut on, jump on a motorcycle, and say you're in a club or say you're a biker, because it's not how this works. So back to hashtag Bikers United. Here's my plan, and I'm hoping that everybody jumps on board with this, especially your listeners. I'm doing everything I can here. Yes, I own a business, okay? That happens to be your sponsor, which is awesome, by the way. But I want everybody to understand, because everything goes around full circle and people start getting mouthy about shit. One, because I own a business has nothing to do with anything. What I'm trying to do is awaken our culture, trying to educate the everyday societal person so that we don't continue to have to worry about if we're getting our colors removed, if, you know, do I have to take my colors off and stick them in my saddlebag when I'm riding somewhere because I don't want to get pulled over by the cops. I don't want to deal with that. People attacking our First Amendment rights. I'm just done with it. All right. So what I'm doing is I'm saying, hey, anybody who is a biker, anybody that's in a club, now's the time, right?
Right.
Get involved, because I'll tell you something about gun owners, and a lot of people are going to hate me when I say this. Gun owners love to talk a lot of shit about, well, we need to get this guy voted out, or we need to go and fight this, that, and everything. And I know this because I did a Second Amendment ride, and I put it out everywhere. 15% of the people that own guns will speak. Everyone else is full of shit. And the problem is I'm afraid that that's the same case in the motorcycle culture.
Oh, exactly.
The thing is,
you got that point on.
If that's what our culture is, then our culture is wrong, because that's not how it started. We started as a culture because we weren't afraid to speak our piece, because people, when we spoke, people listened. Whether it was fear or not, I don't really give a shit at this point. But we need to start speaking our piece, and we need to start protecting ourselves. What people don't understand is, and because we forgot this, right? The government is all elected officials. Those elected officials were elected by Americans. Well, most of them were Mexican too, but whatever. So Americans voted for these people and put them into office. Why do we put them there? Because we believe that those people were going to do the right things for our country or our town or our state. And what ends up happening is somebody starts jingling change purse, and everybody gets those, dollar signs in their eyeballs, and they forget about their promises. They forget about what their job was and everything else, and then the government went apeshit. So here we are. Let's remind everybody that I don't know how many listeners we got today, but here's what I'm going to tell you. They work for us. The government works for us, okay? So this cat that was raising the money for the wall, guess what? We raised the money, and then the government says, well, we'll take it, but you can't tell us what to do with it. Yes, we can, because that's what we do.
Right.
But exactly. The problem is so many Americans just sit there with their thumb in their ass saying, right, okay, I didn't know I couldn't give you money. Bullshit. They take your money every goddamn paycheck.
Good stuff right there, man.
So what we need to do, and this is my belief, and I hope everybody is on the same page with me, and I'm starting from scratch here, so work with me and have a little patience. I'm starting hashtag Bikers United. Hopefully this catches some traction and gets out there, and people start writing their congressmen and all the other stuff, just like we're looking for people to do for Chief Hetty. You know, the bikers helped get Trump elected. There's tons of us. Why can't we stand up for ourselves?
Well, you know what? You bring up a point, man. Us bikers do have a lot of influence, especially down in Waco, when we beat an incumbent by 20 freaking points after what he did. So, you know, when bikers actually do get together, we make some noise, man, and we can make a big difference.
We absolutely can. So, I mean, that's kind of why I'm waving the flag right now, saying, help. I'm one man. And I know that you're on my page, right? So you and I, we're two men.
Right.
We can really get this ball rolling with everybody that's listening right now. And I don't even give a shit if you ride a motorcycle. If you support a biker, if you support this lifestyle, you got to get out and talk to your people. You got to spread the word about the travesty that is currently going on in California. Exactly. Never should any club have to worry about getting their identity removed from their body. Never.
Especially from a government like ours, man. But you know what? It was a hell of a conversation today, Tombstone, and hashtag Bikers United. Let's get her out there, get going. We're at the hour mark, and hell of a freaking way to end a week with the show. And I guess the gremlins kind of stayed away for a little bit, but
I think it scared them.
Well, tomorrow I actually have A-Bait of Michigan. They're doing their conference over there. We're going to be talking with a bunch of people and getting some news that A-Bait's working on, and that's another organization everybody needs to get involved with is A-Bait, because without them, man, we all be riding with buckets on our head against our will. And oh wait, before I forget, man, if you're in Texas, you guys better get on the phone with your reps because they're trying to push a helmet law through now. But I really appreciate you being on the show, Tombstone, and look forward to everything at the end of next week with the new products and stuff. So I had to show them off for you and all that good stuff, man. But you got anything else you want to say before we get going?
The only thing I want to say is that if anybody's on Facebook, if you're looking to get involved in one way, shape, or form, if you could look up Huskarls of Freedom, that's HUSKARLS of Freedom, right? Please look us up. That's where I'm starting all of this and trying to get it moving. I'm opening up a YouTube channel as well. I'll do some videos and so on and so forth so everybody sees where we're going. But please reach out over there and let us know who you are, and we'll work with you. We'll give you whatever information you need and so on and so forth and what you can do to help.
Well, you know what? Make sure you put that on the chat room, man, before the end of the show. That way people know, because that's kind of a mouthful right there.
Yeah, I know. But we picked a difficult name.
Right. Dat Dirty Nicka just put Haskell. What? Yeah, go ahead and put that in the chat room. That way everybody knows.
Yeah, I'll put it up there. I mean, it's an interesting story about what a Huskarl is, but we'll get into that another time.
Rock and roll, man. I'll talk to you later, and thanks for calling in the show.
I appreciate all your help, man. Take care.
Rock and roll. And that was Tombstone. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. What a way to end a freaking week with the live shows. Again, tomorrow I'm going to be talking about A-Bait and stuff like that out of Michigan. We got Hot Rod and a bunch of other directors coming on the show. It's going to be a hell of a show. And if you guys have any questions or concerns, email me at my personal email address. I'm only going to give it to the YouTube guys and gals because the other one is just filled with freaking emails and stuff, and it's hard to distinguish where they're coming from. So you got that right, Demon Throw. Save the patch, hashtag. But that way I can keep it going and stuff like that. I really appreciate it if you can subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. if you can. And I really appreciate YouTube Live super chats. The donations go right back into keeping the show going and stuff like that. The show only goes on because of donations from our listeners and stuff like that. Without you guys, there wouldn't be a show. So, right now, we got Dirty Nick. I'm going to send you some Poorman stand. You got to love my listeners. Anyway, I love that one. That was freaking awesome. But, hey, yeah, if you guys ever want to be on the show, what's it called? Tombstone was. You guys can call, let me know, man. I'll bring you on because this show's about you guys and getting some topics out there. I would love it. Hollywood, go see my video, giving a push, rock and roll. So with that, you guys all take care. Have a good weekend. And the video with A-Bait will be up come Monday morning. So I'll talk to you guys later. Enjoy everything, guys. Love yous.